That was the line that's been running laps in my head since last night, since she looked at me over the rim of her glass and let those words settle between us like a dare. Her name is Evelyn Grant. 46, maybe 47. I never asked. Asking would make it real, and I've spent a long time pretending whatever this is, isn't. She moved into the apartment across the hall 6 months ago, alone, always composed, the kind of woman who wears silence like a tailored coat. People call her the widow on the 3rd floor when they think she can't hear. She acts like she doesn't care, but sometimes the way she exhales after closing her door gives her away. I'm 24. I don't act like a kid, but next to her, I feel unsteady in ways I've never felt around anyone. She doesn't flirt. She doesn't try. She doesn't have to. It started with borrowed things, sugar, batteries, a screwdriver she never returned. Then small conversations in the hall. Then longer ones at her doorway. Then she stopped pretending to keep the door half closed. Tonight, I found her sitting on the floor outside her apartment, back against the door, barefoot, hair loose around her shoulders. I didn't even hear her until she said quietly, "You're home late." I almost kept walking, like I should have. Instead, I sat down beside her without asking why she was there. The hallway was dim, one flickering light above us buzzing like it was struggling to stay alive. She smelled faintly of cedar and whatever she'd been drinking, something warm, amber, adult. She didn't look at me at first. Just took a slow breath and traced the rim of an empty glass with her finger. "The silence gets loud around this time," she said. I didn't know what to say to that, so I didn't. She glanced over, eyes a little glassy but not unfocused. Not weak. Just, stripped of the armor she usually wears. Her knee brushed mine. Maybe it was accidental. Maybe it wasn't. She didn't move, and neither did I. "You ever notice how walls hold secrets better than people?" she said. I swallowed. "Depends who's trying to hear." That made her smile, small and sideways, the kind that never reaches a camera lens, only happens when no one's supposed to see. She leaned her head back against the door and looked at the ceiling. "I hate sleeping alone," she said, almost like she was talking to herself. I didn't breathe for a second. The hallway felt smaller. Warmer. Then she turned her head toward me, slow, deliberate. Her eyes held mine like she was checking if I'd pretend I didn't hear her. Checking if I'd run. I didn't. Her hand rested on the floor between us, fingers relaxed. Mine drifted closer without meaning to, not touching, just near enough to feel the heat from her skin. She noticed. I could tell by the way her breath slowed. "If I asked you something," she said quietly, "would you give me an honest answer?" I nodded once, my voice stuck somewhere in my chest. Her gaze dropped to my mouth for half a second before lifting back to my eyes. "Good," she murmured. "I'm tired of being lied to." The silence didn't feel empty. It felt like pressure building before thunder. She shifted her hand, just a little, knuckles brushing mine. It was barely a touch, but my pulse reacted like she'd grabbed me. Then, right when the air between us finally broke into something neither of us could take back, her apartment door clicked, from the inside. She stiffened. I turned toward the sound, heart jumping once, hard. Someone else was in there. And the door handle started to turn. Here's the 700-word continuation, deepening the intimacy, backstory, risk, and unspoken pull, ending with a charged, quiet moment that strengthens their connection. The handle didn't turn all the way. Just a slow, testing movement, the kind that makes your breath stall before your brain catches up. Evelyn's eyes flicked to the door, then to me. No panic, just a held breath and a slight tightening around her mouth. Then silence. No voice. No footsteps. Just the quiet hum of the hallway light and the shared awareness that someone had almost stepped into whatever this was. She didn't explain. I didn't ask. Maybe she knew I wouldn't. Maybe she trusted I wouldn't. After a moment, she reached behind her and unlocked the door. It was already open, a crack, barely visible in the dim light. She pushed it gently until it clicked shut, then turned back to me like the moment hadn't happened. "Come inside," she said softly. Not a request. Not exactly an invitation either. More like she was tired of pretending there was a line we hadn't already crossed. Evelyn lived like the world was always one step too close, curtains half closed, lights low, everything in shades of beige and wine and quiet. The apartment smelled faintly of sandalwood and old books. A lamp glowed in the corner, highlighting the edge of an empty glass on the coffee table and a folded throw blanket that looked recently used. She didn't offer me a drink. Didn't sit far away. She lowered herself onto the couch and rested her elbows on her knees, fingers laced loosely. I sat on the floor across from her, back against the chair opposite. It felt less like distance and more like honesty. She watched me for a moment, then said, "I was married for 18 years. Her tone was even, not fragile. "We met when I was 24. If he hadn't died, our anniversary would have been next month." I didn't know whether to look at her directly or give her space. My gaze slid somewhere in between, at her hands, the curve of her wrist, the way her shoulders softened and tensed in the same breath. "People don't really know what to do with widows," she said. "They either pity you or avoid you. Both are exhausting." There were no framed wedding photos in sight. No trace of someone else in the room. Just the faint indentation on the right cushion of the couch like someone once sat there often. I hesitated, then asked, "Do you miss him?" She looked at me, and for the first time I saw something unguarded in the answer she didn't say right away. "I miss not being invisible," she replied. "Miss not feeling like my life already ended just because his did." The quiet around us felt softer now, less like an accident, more like permission. I thought about telling her that I'd noticed her long before she noticed me. That I'd hear her footsteps through the wall sometimes and stop what I was doing, listening without knowing why. That I'd catch the scent of her perfume in the hallway and look at her door longer than I should. But I stayed quiet. She tilted her head, studying me. "You don't talk much." I met her eyes. "Neither do you." That earned a small, tired laugh. She glanced down, brushing a loose strand of hair behind her ear. The movement was subtle, but my eyes tracked it without permission. She saw. That should have embarrassed me, but she didn't call attention to it. Instead, her expression shifted, something between curiosity and warning. "You're too young to know when someone's dangerous," she said. But she didn't sound like she believed it. "My age doesn't make you dangerous," I said. She held my gaze a second too long. Then, almost imperceptibly, she leaned back, like the closeness was creeping up on her. The age difference sat between us without either of us naming it. Neighbors watched us sometimes when we ended up at our doors at the same time. Mrs. Callahan from 3B once asked me if I helped the widow with errands. I didn't correct her. Evelyn broke the silence first. "You should be out with people your age." "I'm here," I said. Her eyes darkened a little, not with sadness, but recognition. When she stood to grab the blanket from the couch, her hand brushed my shoulder as she passed. Too light to be accidental. Too intentional to ignore. I didn't move. She let her fingers linger half a heartbeat longer than necessary. That pause said things neither of us were speaking out loud. When she returned to the couch, she didn't retreat far. She sat on the edge, turned slightly toward me. The air between us changed, denser, quieter, charged with something neither of us were pretending not to feel anymore. Her voice dropped, softer than before. "Stay, just for a little while." Not a plea. Not a command. Just a truth spoken without armor. I didn't answer with words. I shifted closer, close enough that our knees nearly touched, close enough to feel the warmth of her skin without making contact. She didn't pull back this time. She looked at me like she was trying not to, and I let the silence settle around us like something earned. Then, her hand rested on the cushion between us. Palm down. Fingers relaxed. Slow. Intentional. I placed mine near hers, but not touching. Not yet. And she didn't move away. Here's the 500-word continuation, heightening the suspense, deepening the risk, and ending with them closer than ever, right on the edge but still restrained. The quiet didn't feel empty, it felt like something alive between us, waiting for either of us to push it forward or break it in half. Her hand stayed on the cushion, mine close enough to feel the warmth radiating off her skin. Neither of us spoke, and maybe that was why our breathing suddenly mattered too much. She shifted slightly, not away, just closer. Her knee brushed mine. I felt it like a pulse under the skin. A soft vibration broke the stillness. Her phone. She flinched before she reached for it, hesitation making the movement slow. The screen lit her face for a second, just enough for me to catch the name. Her sister. She ignored the call. But the moment had cracked, even if neither of us moved far. She set the phone upside down on the table, and for a second, I thought she might explain. She didn't. People will talk, she said finally, like she'd pulled the thought straight from under her breath. I didn't answer right away. The truth was, she was right. And we both knew I wouldn't pretend otherwise. They already do, I said. Her eyes lingered on me, too quiet, too aware. Then came the knock. 3 soft taps on her door. Not cautious, familiar. Like someone who'd been there before. She froze, breath caught halfway in her chest. I could hear my heartbeat louder than the knock. Another tap. She stood, but not quickly, more like someone trying not to make noise. She glanced at the door, then at me, then back again. Don't move, she mouthed. I didn't. She opened the door just enough to slip into the hallway. I heard a woman's voice, low, familiar, too close. Evelyn, I saw your light. Are you busy? Her neighbor. The one from 3B. The one who always watched her like she was a puzzle she planned to finish eventually. I couldn't see her, but I could hear the suspicion in her tone. Evelyn kept her voice even. Just heading to bed. The neighbor lingered. I thought I heard someone with you. The pause before Evelyn spoke again was short, but I felt it in my chest. You didn't. Footsteps retreated. The door clicked shut. She didn't turn around right away. Her hand stayed against the wood for a second, head bowed slightly like she was exhaling something that didn't fully leave her. When she did face me, her expression wasn't embarrassed, just raw, stripped of the usual distance. I stood without thinking. She took one step toward me. I took one toward her. We ended up too close, not touching, but close enough to feel her breath lift the space between us. The look she gave me was half warning, half admission. You should go before someone else sees, she said softly. I didn't back up. Do you want me to? Her lips parted but no answer came out. Her eyes moved, my mouth, my throat, my eyes again. The kind of look you give only when you're trying not to lean in. I didn't reach for her. I didn't dare. But I didn't leave. She stepped into me instead. Her hand lifted slightly, fingertips grazing my shirt near the collar like she was testing how far this could go before she lost her nerve. The air thinned, tight as a held breath. For a second, one single, suspended beat, I thought she was going to kiss me. Her face was close enough that I could see the faint smudge of tiredness under her eyes and the way her pulse jumped once at her throat. But she stopped just shy of touching. Her voice came out quiet, unsteady in a way I'd never heard from her. This is going to get complicated. I didn't disagree. I didn't step back either. And neither did she. Here's the 500-word continuation with maximum tension, a breaking point, and an ending right at the edge of something irreversible. She didn't move, and neither did I. The quiet felt like it was closing in around us, like the walls were listening. Her breath touched my chin when she exhaled, slow and uneven. I shouldn't want this, she whispered, almost like she was trying to convince herself. That's not the same as not wanting it, I said. Her eyes flicked up at me, sharp, startled, then something softer. She looked away too quickly, like the directness burned. She stepped back, but only enough to make me feel the distance, not remove it. Her hand lifted to her hair, pushing it behind her ear, a nervous habit she didn't seem aware of. I'd noticed it once before, weeks ago, when I'd caught her standing in the elevator staring at nothing. "I keep telling myself it's just attention," she said. "That I'm just starving for something familiar." "That what this is?" I asked. "Just hunger?" She hesitated. And the answer was in the silence before she spoke. "I don't know what this is." The words were honest, but they trembled around the edges. She wasn't used to not being sure. I closed the space by instinct, not decision. She didn't back away. My fingers hovered near her face, unsure, until I tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear. My knuckles grazed her jaw. Her breath caught. "Tell me to stop," I said quietly. She didn't. Her gaze locked onto mine, and something in her restraint snapped, too quietly to hear, but loud enough to feel. Her hand slid up my chest to my shoulder, steady but tense. "Someone saw you come in earlier," she murmured. "The woman downstairs." She pretended not to notice, but she did. "I know," I said. Her thumb brushed the fabric of my shirt, then curled back in. "If this becomes something they talk about, something I can't take back, my life doesn't get to stay the same." "You think mine does?" She let the question sit. Then she stepped closer, so close our bodies were one breath from touching. She was warm, radiant, charged, unguarded in a way I hadn't seen before. She rested her palm lightly on my chest. "You're 24. You keep saying that like I forgot." "It matters," she said, though her hand stayed where it was. "It matters what people think. It matters that she didn't finish." Her voice frayed halfway through. I leaned in just enough that my forehead almost brushed hers. "You're not ruining me." That, whatever part of her that line hit, made her eyes soften, then harden, then flick to my mouth and back to my eyes. She looked like she wanted to step away but couldn't decide how to make her body obey. "You have no idea what you're stepping into," she said. "Maybe let me decide that." Her fingers curled into my shirt like she needed something to anchor herself. I felt every bit of tension in the way she held on. I lowered my voice. "If you don't want me here, say it." Her throat worked, but no words came. I brushed my thumb slowly along the side of her hand where it clutched my shirt. Her breath stuttered. Then, a sound. Not outside. Not the door. From her. Soft. Unintentional. Almost a sound of surrender. Her forehead came to rest lightly against my shoulder, not relaxed, but like a dam about to break. I didn't touch her otherwise, just let her stay there, breathing me in. Her voice came out low, right at my collarbone. "If I cross this line, I won't pretend it didn't happen." I angled my head down, my lips close enough to her ear that she could feel the heat of each word. "Then stop pretending." She lifted her face, slowly, dangerously, and for the first time I knew she was going to kiss me. And then the downstairs buzzer went off, loud and sudden, cutting the moment clean in half. Here's the 500-word twist chapter, introducing a revelation, flipping the dynamic, and ending with a decision that tightens the stakes and pulls them toward the climax. The buzzer jolted her like a slap of cold water. She stepped back too fast, but not far enough to disconnect the heat still lingering between us. Her hand was still curled in my shirt when she froze, then let go slowly, like she suddenly realized she was touching me at all. She didn't look at me when she crossed the room. The buzzer rang again, sharp and impatient. She pressed the intercom, voice steadier than her shoulders. "Hello?" A man's voice came through, muffled by static. "Evelyn? It's Mark. You weren't answering your phone." She went completely still. I'd never heard the name before, but the way she closed her eyes for half a breath told me I should have. He buzzed again, waiting. "I'll be right down," she said, then released the button. She didn't turn around right away. When she did, she looked at me like she was trying to measure how much I'd heard, how much I understood, how much I'd pretend not to. Who is he? I asked. My husband's brother, she said quietly. He checks in on me. More than I ask him to. She reached for a coat draped over the chair, fingers fumbling just slightly at the sleeve. You didn't tell me you still talk to his family. Her expression didn't shift. You didn't ask. I almost laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was so purely her. Truth used as armor, even when it cut both of us. He thinks I shouldn't be alone, she added. He thinks that's what my husband would have wanted. And tonight? She didn't answer that. When she moved past me to grab her keys, her shoulder brushed my arm, light, accidental or not, it landed like electricity. I caught the faint tremor in her breath. She reached the door, paused, then turned the knob halfway before stopping. You need to leave before he comes up, she said without facing me. There was something in the way she said it, not guilt, not shame. Just fear of what it would look like. What it would mean. I stepped closer, close enough that my reflection appeared beside hers in the door's glass. Do you want me to go? Her fingers tightened on the doorknob until her knuckles turned pale. Wanting you here doesn't make it simpler. I'm not asking for simple. You don't know what he'll think if he sees you, she said. He already thinks I make reckless choices when I'm lonely. That word sat in the room like a confession she didn't mean to give me. I took another step, so close my breath touched the back of her neck. You're not reckless. She went still. Completely. I heard him once, I said quietly. In the hall. He called you fragile. The way her shoulders tensed told me I'd hit something raw. She turned then, slowly, her face 2 inches from mine. Close enough for me to see the flicker in her eyes, that mix of defiance and fear threaded with something dangerously close to wanting. He doesn't get to decide what I am, she said. No, I agreed. But you do. Her breath caught. Not because of the words, but because I didn't look away while I said them. The buzzer sounded again, insistent, dragging us back into the present. She exhaled, but didn't step away this time. He'll come up if I don't go. Then go, I said. I'll wait. She stared at me longer than she should have. Then, without touching, without thanking, without explaining, she slipped out the door. But before it closed, she looked back once. Not with doubt. With decision. Here is the 500-word climax chapter with high emotional stakes, physical nearness, and a decisive moment that resolves the core tension without going explicit. I heard her door close down the hall before I saw her. I'd waited on my side of the corridor, leaning against my own doorway, pretending the stillness didn't feel like a countdown. When she stepped off the elevator, she looked composed, but only in the way someone looks composed after forcing themselves to be. Her hair was slightly out of place, her coat still unbuttoned. The quiet click of her heels on the carpeted floor did nothing to hide the strain in her shoulders. She stopped when she saw me. 5 paces away. Close enough to know I'd been waiting. Far enough that either of us could still pretend it meant nothing. Is he gone? I asked. She nodded once, though she made no move to walk past me into her apartment. Her gaze flicked to my door, then to mine. I told him I was tired, she said softly. That I didn't want company tonight. The meaning laced through those words like a match drawn slow along a fuse. I didn't move toward her, but I didn't move away when she took the first step. You shouldn't be out here, she murmured, though it sounded more like something she wished she believed. You didn't want me to leave. Silence stretched. Not empty, pressurized. Her lips parted, but no words came. I watched the rise and fall of her breath, slower now, like her body was catching up to the truth her mouth wouldn't say. She came closer. 3 paces. 2. I didn't back up. Not when I felt the warmth of her standing barely an arm's length away. Not when her eyes dipped to my mouth for a fraction of a second before lifting again. Not when she whispered, I'm not fragile. I know, I said. Quiet. Certain. Her hand hovered as if she meant to touch my chest, then dropped before it made contact. You don't understand what happens if this becomes real. I swallowed, but didn't break her gaze. Then tell me. She shook her head once, almost imperceptibly. I told myself it was curiosity. That I was just enjoying the attention. And now? Her throat moved when she swallowed, like the answer hurt to speak. Now I can't pretend it isn't more than that. I took a breath and stepped forward. Just one step. It erased what little distance we had left. Her back brushed the wall. Not with force, more like she didn't notice she'd leaned into it. I need you to say it, I whispered. Her eyes closed for half a heartbeat, then opened again, softer than I'd ever seen them. If I let this happen, I don't know how to stop wanting it. That isn't an answer. She lifted her chin, though her breathing betrayed her. I could feel the heat radiating from her, feel the way she wavered between retreat and gravity. I shouldn't want you, she said. But I do. I could have kissed her then. Every molecule in the moment tilted toward it. But I didn't move, not yet. Then choose it, I said. She blinked once. Slow. Deliberate. Then she reached, fingertips brushing the side of my jaw like she was testing the reality of me. Something in her loosened all at once. I already did, she whispered. And this time, neither of us stepped back. Here's the 500-word conclusion with emotional closure, warmth, and a sensual but YouTube-appropriate ending, followed by the engagement questions exactly as you requested. She didn't kiss me, not right away. But the space that used to live between us didn't come back. We stood there by her door, the hallway too quiet, the lights too soft. Her hand was still on my jaw, and I covered it gently with mine, like I was afraid to move too fast and scare the moment away. She looked at me the way people look at decisions they've already made but are still learning how to live with. I don't know what happens after this, she said. I shook my head slightly. We don't have to know. We're here now. A small, breath-like laugh left her, as if the simplicity of that answer startled something loose inside her. She exhaled, slow and warm, and the tension that used to anchor her shoulders finally eased. Come inside, she said, not an invitation heavy with implication, not a test, just a quiet truth spoken out loud. I followed her in. She closed the door behind us but didn't step away. Her back stayed against the wood, and I stood in front of her, close enough to feel the heat of her body, but not pressing her to move or choose anything more than this moment. Her eyes traced my face slowly, like she was memorizing a decision she didn't plan to take back. Then she rested her forehead lightly against my chest. No hesitation. No apology. I wrapped my arms around her, and she let herself melt into the hold. That surprised me more than anything, how natural the closeness felt. How right. For a long moment, neither of us talked. We just breathed in the same small circle of air. I rested my chin near her hair and closed my eyes, and she didn't flinch or step away. You know people will talk, she said softly, her voice caught somewhere between worry and acceptance. Let them, I murmured. She tilted her head, cheek brushing my chest. You're not afraid of what they'll think. I'm more afraid of pretending I don't want you, I said. That already felt worse than anything anyone could say. Silence again, but this time it felt shared, like something settled instead of avoided. She lifted her head just enough to meet my eyes. Her hand rested against my chest, fingers curled loosely in my shirt. I spent so long learning how to live without needing anyone, she said quietly. And now? Her lips quirked, not a smile, not quite. I'm willing to relearn a few things. I brushed a stray piece of hair behind her ear, and she didn't move away. My fingers lingered, tracing lightly along the line of her jaw. Her breath caught, not from fear, but from being seen. I don't care about numbers, I said. I care about you. She closed her eyes for a second, like she needed to hear that more than she'd admit. When she looked at me again, the vulnerability was still there, but it wasn't hiding anymore. It was choosing. She slid her fingers between mine, interlocking them with a certainty that was quiet but absolute. No rush. No panic. No hiding. Just two people who'd finally stopped stepping back. I pressed a soft kiss to her forehead, nothing hurried, nothing uncertain. She let out a breath against my chest, steady and warm, and leaned into me fully. For once, neither of us pulled away first.